Hello, my friends. Welcome back. It is the very last video for today. Goodness gracious, there was a lot to cover. 6 of these heroes were released today. We are finally down to the last one for the Lunar New Year event, and that is going to be Qing. Qing is going to be a blue ranger, so we do have the chance to bypass defensive buffs with this guy. That's pretty cool. A reminder of what we get with the family bonus for this Fortune Dancer family is going to be a bonus for 2 or 3 heroes. It's going to give you plus 30 and plus 50% chance to increase the duration of the Fortune Dance status effects cast by this character by 1 turn. Now, this is not a particularly impressive family bonus, one, because you need at least 2 heroes to activate this. So you're going to have to pull at least 2 of these guys and put them together to have a 30% chance to increase the dance effects by 1 turn. It's a lot of conditions to get a minimal reward, and I'm not particularly a huge fan, but that is what the family bonus will be. All right, down here in the passes department, we get Fierce Dancer. If any allies are dancing, this character's special skill deals 30% more damage. So that's kind of fun. If they're dancing, you've got a good setup there. Now, our Aether power is going to be Dodge. This gives him a plus 20% chance to dodge for the first 6 turns. This does create some extra survivability, assuming that you're able to catch those dodges. It is a very cool way to make sure that this character stays alive at the beginning of the fight. All right, down here in our specials department, we get the Flowing Dragon Dual Slash. Well, that sounds awesome, and I do love that it's a dragon. I kept thinking the last ones were dragons. They were lions. This one's actually a dragon, so cool. All right, deals 500% Spirit Slash damage to the enemies on the edges of the formation. Spirit Slash safely removes buffs before dealing damage. Now, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to skip over the fact that this guy is Dancer Mana Speed. I covered this in the last 2 videos, but if you didn't catch those, you're kind of curious. What is Dancer Mana Speed? Well, Dancer Mana Speed is going to say that the Dancer's Mana Speed is faster than fast, so we're dealing with very fast, but becomes slow for 3 turns after the special is cast. Okay. Now, again, I made mention of this in my last video. It sounds like Dr. Seuss wrote this description, but in reality, basically it means that you're going to be operating at very fast speed till you cast your special. Then you have 3 turns of slow speed, so you kind of don't want to necessarily match too many tiles for this guy during those 3 turns. You can, but they're going to really give you much less mana than if you waited a little bit. I'm not saying don't do it, but just understand that there is more benefit to matching these after the mana. The mana goes back to very fast speed, but regardless, it's whatever. The point is that it's just meant to make sure that this guy isn't always operating at very fast. Okay, there you have it. So down here in our specials department, as I was saying before, we get that 500% Spirit Slash damage to the enemies on the edges of the formation, and the Spirit Slash will safely remove buffs before dealing damage. All of that sounds fantastic, right? But you gotta click the question mark. Don't be tricked by this. It says damage is reduced by 60% for each removed buff. Undispellable buffs are also removed. 60% damage reduction. Okay, so if you remove a single effect, you're taking this 500% hit, and you are dropping it down to a 200% hit, okay? If you remove a second effect, you're going to take that 200% hit and reduce it down to, like, what, a 90% hit? So very quickly, this person's attacks become very muted by having to dispel effects. So really, you're going to want to make sure that you're hitting targets that do not have buffs. And that is a little bit hard in this day and age because I feel like everyone has buffs almost all the time. But like, you really do want to pay attention to that. The other difficult thing about this particular character is you don't get to really target who it's going to hit. It's going to hit the outer edges of the formation. The green character that we did at the very beginning, you could at least look at your opponents and decide which one to hit that doesn't have buffs. This one, you don't have that potential, so I don't know. It's very strange how that's set up. Now, it also says that the nearby allies will dance the Flowing Fortune Dance for 4 turns. The Flowing Fortune Dance gives plus 44% mana generation. Damage dealt is increased by 20%, and it's 30% against fire targets. Received damage is reduced by 20%, and that's 30% against nature skills. And then Fortune Dances stack with other dance effects. Okay. So that's very similar to how these other characters work. First of all, I do want to point out a couple things. If you're unfamiliar with how dance effects work, we'll bring that back up again. Right here, it says this affects only mana generated by matching tiles or mana generated by defensive team at the end of each turn. That's talking about the plus mana generation. But how dances work is from this point forward. All existing status effects will be removed when the Fortune Dance status effect is added. So all buffs, all debuffs get wiped out. And then the fortune dance gives immunity to new status effects except for other dance effects. So no new buffs, no new debuffs will be allowed either. And then for the 4 turns that they're dancing. The fortune dance effect cannot be dispelled, but will be removed if the caster dies. So if you wipe this guy out, the dance effect will stop for the people who are dancing. Okay, so remember, this guy also does not dance. It will only be to the person to the right and left of him who gets to take advantage of these particular effects, but it is interesting, and it will stack with other dance effects, which is actually kind of cool because it is a way to get an increased dance effect. Since you can't get other buffs, you can at least add other dance effects to stack those effects together. I mean, that is kind of cool, but I just think that the overall functionality of a character like this is very strange. I don't love the huge damage drop-off from having to dispel. I do like that he can dispel, and he can even dispel undispellable effects. But the trade-off on the damage is quite severe, and I think that's going to make these guys a little bit less exciting. I also feel like this guy's not going to be entirely great on defense because you can't pick your targets, like I said, on offense. You can at least try to hit targets that don't have buffs or time things right so that you can cleanse buffs and then hit. And I guess you could do that somewhat effectively on defense as long as you stack like your cleanser at the left side so that they go off before, or your dispeller on the left side so it goes off before this guy casts. But you can't really control the timing on defense, which I think is just going to make this guy even harder to function the way you want him to. I'm just not in love with how this guy functions just in general. I do have to rate him on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm kind of teetering. I want to say he's an 8 because a lot of the new characters are bumping into that range, but I'm worried that this guy might function at a 7 range. I just feel like there's too much of a damage drop-off for him to be as effective as you want him to be, and let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and give him the 8 for now, but just know that my gut feeling is warning me that this guy might just be an average hero at 7 and not really impressive, and you'll probably choose to take other things. Like, he's fine, and if you get him, I mean, he's still a brand new hero. His stats are great and everything else. I just don't like the weird caveats of how he has to be used. So there you have it. That's what we get for Yan Ying. And yeah, pretty interesting new heroes. It will be fun because we have the ability to farm some free pulls out of this event. So everyone will have at least a reasonable chance to get their hands on one of these new heroes at no cost. So I do appreciate that from Empires and Puzzles, and I do appreciate getting these new additional events, including the fact that they added a 3 and 4 star finally that's based around a Lunar New Year type event. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you do like what I do, there's a little box at the bottom right. You can click that to find me quicker in the future. And I now got to get to editing all of these 6 videos. So we will see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.